Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. So, as I jumped in to do this reading this morning, or really to think about what the reading was going to be, I realized that something that's really been coming out a lot in the last couple of readings, maybe the last few readings, has been this new soulmate that's headed your direction, and so really we want to look at kind of the interaction between this soulmate situation and the other soulmate situation. So someone had asked the question, for those of us who are not in contact, how does the new soulmate affect the overall situation? And I think, we can answer that question whether you're in contact or not. That's what it feels like to me. But absolutely, that's the overall energy that we're going to put out there. What is the impact of this new soulmate situation on the old soulmate situation? And of course, we're going to take into consideration, certainly, if you're not in communication, that does reduce some of the potential for just letting people know what's going on for that communication. So that's what we'll look at. It's going to be a general reading, and it's going to be for this collective. So you may notice that it kind of fits for you. If it does fit for you and it does resonate, then maybe this is a collective that you want to go ahead and join, and you can subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, maybe just check into it and see if there are maybe some older messages that resonate with you as well. They may be useful. So we're going to go ahead and start with the daily question that we like to ask, which is really, what is the emotional and energetic backdrop? We ask this a lot. Sometimes we ask it, like we asked it for the entirety of the month of August. We asked for it around the moon. Now we're kind of asking for it around today. It's a little bit more local. And we've got the Six of Swords in the reverse. So definitely a lot going on. There was a little bit of a Six of Wands in the reverse that we just saw there as a kind of an honorable mention as well. It just basically that things are very much in the process of moving. They are not resolved. And here it feels like it's difficult to be able to resolve because it's hard to be able to find time to reflect on what that resolution might look like. Things feel a little up in the air in this energy. And with things being the way that what we've seen in the previous readings, I don't know that this really surprises me. I think, though, having the energy kind of feel like it's up in the air like that it's a little on the intense side. But you've got an Eight of Wands that says there's some sort of stagnation around this. So all of the energy isn't necessarily moving evenly. You've got some things that are really in motion. You've got some things that are really not moving. And as an example, you've got some things that are happening in your life right now that seem like they are in motion. They're what's creating some of that overwhelming energy, even though some of it's good stuff. And this Eight of Wands is really around that situation that you're not able to figure out how to resolve just yet. So we've got the Five of Wands here in reverse. This one is much more going with the flow. So it's the reason that you may not be losing your entire mind in this Six of Swords energy and this Eight of Wands energy. This Five of Wands it kind of reflects what you've already learned as far as going with the flow. This feels like it's a lot of your energy so far. So, when we get into this, we're looking for shared energy generally, but this is not part of the reading, but what we generally will find is that sometimes it feels like it's really shared, and then sometimes it feels like it's a little bit more specific. So we saw evidence of this, something coming your direction that you're going to evaluate it and decide. We saw this in the last couple of readings, actually. But this is something that's going to come to you that you are going to feel like maybe you shouldn't do it. I described it as having the willies. And it's the right thing to do is not to jump into this. There's something about this that you don't want to jump into, and yet there is a happiness that you're able to move toward. This feels like yesterday's reading, kind of in a nutshell, is still very much in today's energy. If you haven't seen yesterday's moon reading, it was not specifically a soulmate reading, but it is so aligned with what we're seeing right here. And of course the soulmates came into it. So both of them did, both the new one that's coming in as well as the soulmate that is already there, that you already have that bond established with. But there's this feeling of like things aren't stable. but you're okay with it. And we see a little bit of that with the Six of Wands here, and then the Five of Wands, or sorry, the Six of Swords in reverse, and then it did have that Six of Wands with it, and the Five of Wands here in reverse. It's like things are a little bit crazy, but you're kind of okay with it. Here, they're just not stable. They haven't landed yet, but you have the confidence that you're going to be able to deal with it when it does. There's a nice feeling of that in there. It's like there's an internal balance that and this is a little bit more shared energy. This is something that your person is feeling, almost this kind of feeling of confidence underneath their fear as well. Now oops, I dropped one too. Let me see if that turned up. Does not want to be part of the reading. Okay, so Nine of Cups. You have done something really fantastic here in this energy. And there is that thing that we know, that we keep hearing about, that needs to be addressed, but that's particularly difficult to address. Even though maybe you're aware of it, it's something that you've been able to conveniently not focus on for one reason or another, or there are a lot of different ways that all hurt to hear, that we've talked about this. But there's this Nine of Cups here, which is really just an inspirational sort of energy that will help you to move in the direction that you feel like is the healthiest direction. Because it's like you glean somewhere in there that you're going to be moving toward happiness in all of this. But yet you're not completely healed. That's what we see here with the Four of Swords. There's still some pain from this most recent ending that has really just been bothering you. And this is going to be with that soulmate that you've been with, or that you have the experience and the history with. So this is going to be the person where, if you're not in communication, it's kind of that pain of not being in communication. If you are in communication, it's that pain of them not quite giving you what. One of you wrote to me and was talking about how, yes, you're in communication, but they're really not saying anything of import. And that continues to create pain and not allow the healing to really happen. And so there is some healing that needs to happen, but really it's like the pain has to at least kind of chill for a little bit in order for that healing to feel like it can begin. Otherwise, it just feels like it continually gets reopened. And even so, some of you that aren't in communication are feeling this sense of, I just don't even feel like I can get traction on beginning to solve this. So there's a feeling in here of, I'm really in the middle of it. I'm kind of okay with it, but it is a little bit of a personal holding pattern. You're having a hard time maybe breaking out and finding something to push off of to go toward this sun, this happiness. That's part of what's in here. And it reminds me very much of the Eight of Cups that came out in the reverse, talking about how you're not really being asked to rush. But there is this feeling of maybe a little bit of aimless meandering going on as you're seeking out that Nine of Cups. So maybe you could be more efficient in your path. I'm not sure that's the end of the world. Just putting that out there. So let's go ahead and take a look at the question that we're asking. So how is this new soulmate relationship going to affect you? And we'll take this into consideration. That's the reason we do this. So we know kind of, if it starts to come out with a bent toward a certain energy, you're like, okay, but this is what kind of day we're looking at here. So we've got the Two of Cups. Okay. So this is interesting. This energy going in the direction of the new soulmate is going to create a little bit of an energy vacuum that brings your other soulmate back toward you, but they're almost on a different level. Now, the soulmates themselves seem like they're very much on a different emotional level, because this one that you're running into is a little bit more emotionally mature and emotionally independent to begin with than the one that you've been dealing with. But you're going to trigger this new one, and there are going to be some things that play out that seem very reminiscent, but you'll be maybe on the other side of some of that. So it's interesting, because I think what changes the most is you, because I'm drawn to here we have the new union, here we have the two of you back to back, but yet not really interacting in the 3D so much, or certainly not in the meaningful way that you would hope for. And here you are interacting in a meaningful way. But what I'm drawn to is this in between, which is you. You're the thing that draws all of this together. So in the Venn diagram of the relationship with them and the relationship with this other them, you're the one in the middle. You're the thing that is common. And so it kind of looks like a little bit of a Venn diagram, which is why I went with that. But um, this is it's not comfortable, but it's you redirecting some of your energy, which is also going to be useful. You're teaching lessons to this new person. You are getting refinement on the lessons that you're learning, that you have been learning with the soulmate to whom you are deeply bonded, that you already know about. Okay, so here's that Eight of Cups. All right, so it puts you on a better path. The aimless meandering stops, and all of a sudden you start taking your path in a different light. So I don't want to say more seriously, less seriously, but you're going to find some balance. Some things that may have been particularly difficult for you before all of a sudden start to fall into view and just fall into place. So this thing that's been very difficult for you to accomplish, I can see this new soulmate making things a little bit easier for you in that regard. Then you've got this 10 of Pentacles here. So it's a change to your household. It's going to feel disruptive, but it actually ends up being something that's a little bit more on the positive side. So it is change. The toughest part about this is that it's change, but it's not necessarily a change towards something that's dangerous or bad or even ends up being uncomfortable. It's got a pretty decent feel for it, to it. But we've got this Seven of Cups here. You're going to have some options that feel like they come at you relatively quickly, and there's this feeling of I should be appreciating this more than I do. I feel like that with this too. There's going to be this feeling with this new soulmate like I should be appreciating them more than I do. And I've heard it from you. Some of you who have already come in contact with this new soulmate, one person in particular was saying, I feel like I'm just not as emotionally connected to this new person as I was to the old person, and yet it is somebody that is presenting in a romantic way. I feel like I'm not doing quite right by them because I'm not able to invest quite as much. There is definitely that element to things. This is something that you will have to work through very gradually. And the issue is part of this is not you. Part of this is actually the beginnings of their response that they're going to have. So ultimately, this relationship ends up getting a little bit overloaded by emotions that feel uncomfortable and too heavy to carry. So your person gets triggered, the new person, sorry. Your new person gets triggered and you kind of don't exactly in the same way. So, I mean, it will trigger you, but it's not like the last one did. This one is much more minor, much more something that you can work through. But there is a strong sense here that it's just it's uncomfortable because you feel like you're not doing right by this person, and yet the issue really isn't entirely, like I said, coming from you. It's partially the energy that's coming off of this other person, that actually they wouldn't even be able to find that in them if you were to mention it. And because when they first start getting triggered, they're not going to believe it. They're going to think it's a lesson that they've already learned. But here is where, something we had in the Greater August reading, we had a Queen of Wands come out that I said felt like, your get up and go twisted its ankle. Like it got up and went and then it twisted its ankle. And this is that same kind of feeling. So it feels a little bit like a setback. It feels a little bit like there's an impasse here. There's a setback in this feeling, and this is within the relationship with you and the new soulmate. So you're going to get a little distracted by this setback and by this overall, and feel maybe even a little overwhelmed by the options, and feel like I'm not even sure how I feel about this situation that hasn't quite wrapped up its cycle yet, much less this new one that feels like it's beginning a cycle, or it's beginning a new cycle in some cases. I'm not going to rule that out because I think there are a couple of you who are coming in contact with somebody that you once knew. But it isn't the person that you have recently, that you've been getting the readings about. This is a new energy that comes in and gets your attention in such a way that it kind of, some of those places where you've been unable to get past this Swords energy and this Eight of Wands energy and this kind of, it's stagnant. I can't figure out how to move forward. There's this beautiful energy and you wanting to manifest. This is going to make it easier. That is part of the path to get to reconciliation within yourself, which could mean reconciliation. It opens you up for reconciliation with the person with whom you've had this significant connection, and it can't really happen without you having your third party come in, your new soulmate. And like I said, this could be a friend, but it's somebody who dramatically changes the way that you look at things and really kind of gets you, they trigger you a little bit in the way that you may have triggered your person, your soulmate, your initial soulmate. So oh, well, that's interesting. I'd like to learn more about this. Maybe that's what we're going to do when we get into the extended. Let's see what else comes out here. And I love the extendeds because it's not very many people that click on the extended. So it ends up being, they feel a little bit more like personal readings. And it even feels like that when I get in there. I always kind of am hoping it doesn't show up too much in my voice, but I'm like, okay, now we're nestling down and we're going to kind of get into that energy. But it's interesting what comes out because it does tend to be messages that are sometimes they're kind of intense, but they feel more focused, where this is feels like, okay, so generally here's what's happening. You've got these two soulmates that are you are the place where they are interacting, and you are the place where the change happens. Now certainly change happens in your other soulmate because you as you go into this new energy, it creates the vacuum that makes them want to come back towards you even more strongly. But you're also creating some changes in the new soulmate because you're triggering them to learn some lessons that maybe they haven't already had. But you, in the middle of all that, there's a little bit of a, wait a minute, I'm confused. What exactly am I supposed to be doing? It's another seven. We've got the Seven of Wands and the Seven of Cups over here. And it really does feel like I'm just not entirely sure which direction this goes. There's uncertainty. This is a lack of consistent confidence, really, and it's feeling like I'm not sure if I should get up and fight for this because I don't understand exactly how I even feel about it. So there may be some time that you spend feeling like you're not exactly sure what to do, and it's almost a depressing feeling. There is a truth, once again, that you're hiding from yourself and that you are in some way avoiding. This is going to open you up. So this is, we've seen the invitation to walk into this new energy for the last few days. It came out very strongly in the last couple of readings, that this is the time for you to really be evaluating this new thing. This new soulmate is going to bring it out in you, is going to present more of an opportunity. So if it's like, I don't know, we'll use the alcohol one. I haven't used that example in a while. If it's, I'm trying to quit drinking alcohol, here's a person who is a former alcoholic that can't be around alcohol. Otherwise, it creates a setback in them. And so you'll have, whatever it is, you'll have an increased reason to support yourself because you're wanting to match up to this energy or be respectful to this energy or whatever the situation ends up being. So there's kind of there's an element of that to it. I won't say it's alcohol. I won't say that's even the way the dynamic works out, but it's something in here that kind of inspires you to do something that you've been putting off and trying not to make a change here lately. But one that has been it's a change that has been stalking you for a long time. And we keep seeing this Ace of Swords in the reverse come out in every single reading here recently, saying, okay, there's a truth that you already know, but you're kind of not looking at it. In one of the readings recently, it was either yesterday or the day before, I think, said something to the effect of it's an inconvenient truth. And I remember thinking, maybe being a little offended by it, but also thinking, all right, you know what? I asked for the answer and I can't be offended by what comes out. And that's the thing about tarot. If we don't want the answers, we've got to be really careful about asking the questions. So, here it is. I mean, there's definitely something here to be looking deeply into. But it's hard to confront. This person helps you confront it. It is part of what opens everything up. But I'd like to look a little bit more into the relationship with this person and kind of see how that dynamic plays out. So I think we're going to do that when we get into the extended, maybe find out a little bit about their side of things. First, let's jump into you as we do in every reading. Let's find out where you need to be focused given what is happening in this energy and where everything has kind of landed on the table. Okay, so we've got the Emperor in reverse. there is a sense of easy does it, but also a sense of eventually maybe getting a little bit frustrated and saying, I'm sick of waiting. And what you're waiting for is a resolution, not necessarily contact from this other person. It's resolution, and I'm just tired of this Six of Swords being in the reverse. I'm tired of things constantly being up in the air and me not quite feeling very confident or, happy about certain things. It's you get tired of it and you start trying to impact your to shape your world. But it's not co-creation with the universe manifestation kind of shaping. It's more like forcing things into place, and it doesn't work as well. So watch for that to come out, because if you are able to free yourself up and not do this type of manipulation. So manipulation just means reaching out, changing something. It's not always a bad thing. It has a negative connotation in a lot of contexts, but manipulation in general is just like, I'm manipulating these cards right now. That's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. Manipulation is manipulation. So here is you trying to manipulate the situation in a way that's a little bit heavy handed. And so that's where the negativity comes in. This chariot says, hey, if you can back the heavy handedness off that manipulation, the universe will help you. And you'll be able to take all of this energy that puts you into this better place, and really it kind of rises behind you and helps you out. Now, it may not be simple. It may not be something where all the answers come out. There's going to be a need for a little trust of what's happening in the background, but trust is exactly what we see here. It's got to be the inner child work that you've done so far is going to be helpful in this. So it's going to be making sure that when something happens, when this person starts to get triggered and starts to back away from you, you're going to be okay with it because of the self-trust and self-worth that you've built up from dealing with your soulmate that we've been doing readings for the last few months. This is kind of uplifting, because everything is, you never know what's going to come out when you say what's the impact. And it looks like the impact ends up being incredibly positive, certainly preparing you for that reconciliation phase. And that has to start within you. And this is allowing for a significant amount of reconciliation within you. There are new doors opening, and it happens so slowly, but this is like your ability to leave that door open and allow your person to walk through it. Something that we've been talking about for quite some time. Six of Cups, you begin to, part of what you're going to be able to do here, even in the discomfort of everything that we see, you are going to be able to partner up and at least be able to have some really honest conversations. But it brings up some memories for you from the past. Those memories might even bring up a little bit of those things that triggered you from the past. So you are by all means encouraged to pay attention when it does, and to go into that uncertainty, go into that pain, because there is new lessons that are there for you in that. You've got a partner here who is going to be here to kind of help you work through it, except for they may become a little bit in and out. But again, you're going to have that self-trust and self-worth where you're going to be fine with it, even as you're experiencing the dip in your self-worth, where it's going to be very much associated with the thoughts that you have around that soulmate that you have been experiencing all this time. So even with that dip in self-worth, you're going to be fine. The partnership energetically with your person, and in the 3D and in the 5D with this new person, is going to be part of what helps to shore you up. But ultimately, you just kind of, you hit a new level and you feel like, you know what, I have mastered some things that I had not mastered in the past, and I can completely do this. And the truth is, every bit of this energy says you absolutely can, and you're going to do great with it. Here's what I was missing. Okay, so the Temperance card, in the reverse, I was like, there's an edge. This is all very happy. Where's the rest of it? Because I can feel the edge. This is that edge of trying to find balance. But the thing is, it's a hard won balance, and it's one that the wind keeps shifting on you. So it's a challenge to find it. But I think very soon, I feel like it's like the month of August. And I know this isn't a month of August reading, but I feel like it's in that range where you start to really find that balance and say, you know what? Maybe the Six of Swords doesn't ever let up. Maybe the Eight of Wands, stagnation, weird stuff only lets up when I do right by myself. But man, I'm going in such a great direction. Like you end up, your tightrope turns into a sidewalk. And I talk about the temperance balance being like a tightrope that you have to try and figure out how to get on. This becomes a sidewalk, and it's because of all the work that you've done on the inside, because of all the investment that you've made. Really fantastic energy, but you've got to continue to push it on through to the completion and to where it needs to go. You're headed the right direction. This inner balance that tried to come out earlier here and was more of an honorable mention, this is what you're going to learn to rely upon, and it is something that other people will also really be able to see. It's like a flame that's growing in you, and when your flame is growing, people can see it. You've got the King of Swords here saying that this is your ability to rely on the logical side of yourself without also abandoning the emotional side. So this is a talent, a skill. It's something that you're building and getting better and better at. And here we have that Six of Wands energy that tried to come out companion with the Six of Swords there at the very beginning. This is that Six of Wands saying, and the battle rages on. There's not necessarily a huge completion, like you have a completion of lessons here, but one of the things that you really are good with is the fact that things are just going to continue to be. They're going to be what they are. There's not really an end to that, and it's just constant flow of lessons and things that are coming for you. You're getting much more comfortable about that in this energy. So we're going to do a bridge question for you, and just see kind of, I love this. This is such emotionally intelligent, independent, happy energy. It's happy. Like you get to this happiness in this energy. And so we're going to do the bridge question in the extended that shows how you get to that place and kind of what's between where you are and where you're getting to, because it feels really short term. Like this is a short bridge. You've already got a foot on it. I can definitely tell that's everywhere throughout this. But this new person coming in, it does certainly throw you for a little bit of a loop, but it's not the kind of loop where you are, freaking out and dealing with what you've dealt with your soulmate in the past. And so this energy that you're in does not cast things in a better light, and it still looks good. So we'll get into the extended, and we'll look at, like I said, we'll do the bridge question for you, but we're also going to get in a little bit more with this soulmate and just kind of find out, well, what does happen here, and maybe how are they doing with it. So we'll check to see what's happening there. Hopefully I'll see you in the extended. The link is down below if you want to go do that. And otherwise, I will see you again tomorrow.